Worked with Grand Traverse Conservation District, Steve Largent, Luke Holter, and Wally Chappell at the time, in developing what we call the Boardman River Wayside Companion. And as they were working on restoring the Boardman River and managing the recreation access to the Boardman River, they said, boy, you know, we need some signage. We need some signage so people can find their way, you know, around the place, wayfinding signage. We need some signage to let folks know about the type of work that we're doing, so that could explain the restoration. And boy, we would like to do some interpretation on this river as well. And so hence we launched into what we called the Boardman Wayside Companion. Now, some folks might wonder why the National Park Service is working with people here on the Boardman River. Well, the National Park Service has a program that I'm involved with called the Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. And we're a technical assistance program that works with conservation and recreation projects, locally based, community based, locally led, across the country. And we work primarily outside the boundaries of our national parks. And so there are folks like myself who work across the country, like I say, with locally led conservation efforts. And in the course of a year, because primarily of your efforts, we're able to protect over 700 miles of river, develop over 1,400 miles of trail, and conserve over 64,000 acres of open space. And again, like I say, it's not our initiative, it's your initiative that makes these things happen. So, as I started working on projects throughout Michigan, well, I should jump back a second. I'm stationed out of Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lake Shore, and get to work with our friends over here. And we do work at times with park units, but we work on projects that extend outside the park boundaries. So one of the projects we're working on right now, you probably have seen in the paper, is the Sleeping Bear Heritage Trail. It's going to be a 27-mile long multi-use trail that runs through Leelanau County through the National Lake Shore. Now, I've been working in Michigan for about 12, 15 years, primarily on trail projects, and all kinds of trail projects. Rail trail projects. You know, we're so fortunate here in the Grand Traverse region to have TART trails, and there's a lot of trails in Michigan. Michigan is the #1 leader in the country in regards to non-motorized multi-use trails. We've got close to 2,500 miles of non-motorized multi-use trails in the state of Michigan. I work on water trails. I work on heritage trails. And as these trails have gotten on the ground, folks, you know, besides just providing access and a recreational amenity, they really want to connect people to the story. They want to connect people to the land, to the resources, to the landscape that those trails, you know, traverse. And so that's how I got involved in interpretation. Now, I used to be an interpreter way back when with the National Park Service when I was a ranger. But, so I could take some of that knowledge and skills and apply it to these projects where there was this desire to connect people with the land and the landscape and the stories, and to make their trail, whatever project it is, a more memorable experience. So what I'd like to do today is talk about how do you tell your story? How do you make that memorable experience? How do you connect people with your resource, with your land, with whether it be a historic site, a natural site, etc. And to do that, I think we have to step back a second and talk a little bit about interpretation. Now, I've got some interpretive experts here in the room. So, you know, keep me honest or I might call on you. Yeah. And in the National Park Service, we call people visitors. When you come to a national park, you're a visitor. So you know, that's the word I tend to use, but you can think of audience, you can think of your classroom, your constituency, whatever it is. But interpretation is a process of helping each park visitor find an opportunity to personally connect with that place. Whether it's a landscape, a natural area, it could be historic, it could be cultural. And interpretation is more than facts or stories. It's that information that builds that connection between the people and the land, the resource, the event. And the result is a deeper sense of history and appreciation for the place, the resource, and the landscape. And a place so loved stands the test of time because it's all about creating that stewardship. And I know that's what you're all about here as well. And through interpretation comes that understanding. Through that understanding comes the appreciation. And through the appreciation comes the stewardship. And that's what we work for in the National Park Service. And I'm sure that's what many of you folks are working for as well. Now, there's a variety of interpretive tools. Signage is just one of them, and I'm going to jump into that with both feet. But you've got to take a look at, you know, your whole toolbox of interpretive tools. And so I'm going to kind of just mention them briefly. I do want to note, though, that Susan Sanders is in right there, and she's got some expertise in one of the interpretive tools I'm going to mention, podcasts and audio tours and things like that. So if you've got questions specifically about those, talk to Susan. When you're thinking about what type of tool to use in your toolbox, you need to know who your visitors are. And, you know, where are they coming from? Are they local? Are they regional? Are they coming from out of state? Why are they coming? What are they doing when they're coming? Are they coming for a nature experience? Are they coming primarily for recreation, fishing, be with their family? Are they coming for programming? Are they coming for hunting? And then also, how do those visitors access the resource or the area? Where do they come in from? How long do they stay? All those kinds of questions, if you can find the answers to those, will help you build a better interpretive tool. And you're all teachers, so you should be telling me this, but you also have to think about how people learn, how they receive information. And 10%, people remember 10% of what they hear, 30% of what they read, 50% of what they what they see, and 90% of what they do. So interaction in an interpretive world is the key. I imagine in education as well. You also want to think about when you're figuring out or determining your interpretive tool, what kind of visitor experience do you want to provide? What is it that you want folks to feel, or what do you want them to sense? What do you want them to learn? What do you want them to gain appreciation for? So being able to define those, that's very important. It's going to help, again, guide your planning, interpretive planning effort. Also, think about what your organizational goals are. You know, why are you doing this? What do you hope to gain as an institution or an organization? Why do you wish to tell that story? Many times it comes down to, again, developing a stewardship for, an appreciation for, whatever. Fishtown, for instance, in Leland, we're working with their interpretive program right now. Y'all been to Fishtown? Well, they're trying to figure out how can we build better stewards for Fishtown. How can we get folks to appreciate Fishtown so they'll contribute to help to protect and preserve Fishtown? You know, so those are some of their organizational goals. Now, I'm just going to run through the variety of tools. I saw that this afternoon we're also going to have someone talking about publications, right? I'm right, Leslie? So that's one interpretive tool.